Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Scenic Root Astrology. Makayla here, and this is the eclipse video that's happening on October 2nd, 2024. Before I get into the astrology chart, I just want to make a few quick announcements. I have just launched my Becoming Lunatics astrology course. This is a course that is at your own pace, self-study, and includes a monthly Q&A Zoom meetup on the first Monday of every month with me. And the course is entirely covering the evolutionary and predictive techniques of understanding the moon in astrology. So I've developed this course to be good for beginners in astrology all the way to advanced, because I've also included advanced predictive techniques towards the end. And you can find all of that information down below on my website at www.scenicroutastrology.com. Of course, I'll just link all the show notes down below. I don't want to take too much of your time. Just remember that if you're new here to the channel, please hit the like button and subscribe so you can get my future videos coming out. And let's get into the eclipse energy. Okay. A few things that I want to just say when I talk about eclipses with people is to remember that these are intense periods, and it's the full moons and new moons on steroids, but eclipses are meant to reroute us on our path and our direction according to our soul's fate. Okay. I'm somebody that subscribes to a lot of free will with understanding astrology, and that, not everything is actually set in stone, and we have so much free will and so much choice over our life direction and our life path. However, I do also resonate with the fact that astrology is the blueprint of what our soul's intention was in this lifetime. So sometimes, we get off that path, and sometimes we get way, way, way off of our path. And eclipses are just kind of redirections, right? They're redirecting us closer onto our path so that our soul essentially is, moving forward towards that evolution that it came here and chose to do. Okay. So eclipses affect people differently. Obviously it depends on where it's falling in your chart. If it's hitting any of your personal planets, it's hitting the sun, the moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, you're going to feel this way more intensely. If it's hitting any of the angles of your chart, like the ascendant, the descendant, the IC or the midheaven, it's going to signify major shifts and major changes, right? Because the four angles are really the four pillars of the most prominent areas of our life, and so it'll affect people differently, and we have a set of two eclipses each year. Sometimes there's six. Okay. So there's always going to be like a full moon and new moon coinciding within each other within around 2 weeks. And when they fall within the nodes of the moon, that is an eclipse. The closer they are falling within the orb of the nodes of the moon, the more intense the eclipse is. Okay. This one's pretty intense, right? Because this eclipse is happening at 10 degrees of Libra, and the node is at 6 degrees of Libra. Okay. So there's only a 4-degree orb separated, and it's a new moon. So it's a little bit of both, of like a new beginning and a new start. So there's a little bit of darkness that we won't see, and not darkness in like bad energy, just like there is a new beginning being implemented in our life in this specific area of our chart, and obviously however it's impacting your personal planets and so forth. But there's also a process of the need to let go. Okay. Because it's with the South Node. Okay. So it's not just a new beginning. This is very, 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 very much about also letting something go, cleaning something out in our life that's blocking essentially an area of our life where we can plant a seed and go in a new direction. Okay. So just remember that, emotions get heightened during these portals. A lot of the things that happen are more fated than free will, and that, other people are feeling this too, so their emotions are heightened and their experiences are intense too, which of course is like that bumper car effect, right? And it will affect your personal life as well, right? So just remember, like, everyone's on their own journey, everyone's feeling the effects in different ways, and their journey's theirs and yours is yours. Okay. Because this is happening on this relationship axis with like Libra and Aries, and I'm going to obviously dig into the chart more. And the reason why we have to stay focused on our own personal path right now is because the North Node is still in Aries, and it's really encouraging that. just keep these things in check. And there's also, because the emotions get so heightened around eclipses, there's also a sense of urgency. So, of course, some people are better equipped to make quick decisions because they're wired that way. We'd bring in the human design chart, your strategy and authority, for instance, and understand, what is your appropriate way to make decisions and respond to life. And for others, it's more important that you take time and you wait and you feel things out and you tap into the energy, right? So different people are wired for different things. If you're already in tune with the proper way for you to make decisions, just remember that under eclipse portals, there's always a sense of urgency and agency, right? Because the intensity is so high. So it helps to ground. It helps to just like remember that, and just like when circumstances are happening around you, right, or you feel it within you, just try to like tap into this quiet space of like grounding yourself and slowing yourself down and just realizing, oh my God, okay, like the universe is just like on overdrive right now, and I'm also spinning with it, right, going really fast, and I can just like ground myself into the earth and just like slow myself down and realize, I'm just letting fate do most of the work at this part, and it's also like showing me a giant reflection of what I'm ready for and what is the next step. Okay, so I do encourage people to like take some time to meditate under this energy, because new moons are meant for quiet time. They're meant for inner self-reflection. And if you're confused or you don't really know what the next steps are to take, you can find those answers within yourself without the distractions. So we have to like cut out the noise, okay, if you will. The new moon is in Libra and Taurus, and it's with a semi-square to Venus, right? Venus is in Scorpio. And then we also have Uranus and Taurus, which is co-ruled by Venus. So we've got the Venus signs are, of Libra and Taurus. They're still at play. And then we've got the ruler of it in Scorpio. So, there is some regeneration, I want to say, right? I don't want to necessarily say death, but for some people it does signify death of something. It could be somebody that you were close to, that this is very symbolic of like the transmutation of energy happening, or it could be the death of like a job, right, or a certain relationship or a certain pattern of behavior that is not serving you anymore. It could come up for, in a lot of different ways, and I'll just break it down again when we look at the chart. And then this isn't to impose fear on anybody, but it's just to understand that, if you are confused or you're feeling a little lost out there, it's okay. Like, it's okay to be there at times, right? This eclipse is going to show you, if you take the time to meditate and slow down and go within, the eclipse is going to show you that rather than have it happen to you, right? So pay attention to your dreams, listen to your inner self, carve out some time for you alone, to really go within, right? To take up a little selfish time right now to really go within. It's not about doing things for other people right now. It's not about stretching yourself for other people and leading into the codependency issues that comes with Libra. Libra is about relating, but it's learning, it's about listening, right? It's about listening to your needs and the other person's needs, and able to balance the two out, right? There's a reason why the opposite of Libra is Aries, which is a very self-driven sign, and it's all about the one, right? It's all about the self. And there's a reason why this eclipse is opposite that. There's a reason why we have Chiron right now in Aries. There's a reason why the North Node is in Aries. The ruler, the step that we need to take under this eclipse energy is releasing areas of our life where we have, I guess, shunned parts of ourselves out in order to please something else. Okay. So there's a need to step into your own direction, and this eclipse portal is very serious. It's very intense. And we're like finishing up the South Node Aries, the South Node in Libra, North Node in Aries transit, over the next few months and stuff. And then we're having all these other major outer planets changing signs, and they're going to be there for a very long time. So you're gotta set yourself up now for what you want your future to look like. Like, it is a time to be really serious about that and be contemplative of it. And it's okay if you feel like you're on the wrong path. It's okay if you feel like you're outside of it. You're never like too far off of it, right? It's just like a little bump back onto the lane. Okay. So this portal is going to bring that up for many, many people. They're gonna see it. And you also see if like you're going in the right direction and like what can help you accelerate more, if you feel like you're not too far off your path. Or so anyway, I'm gonna bring up the chart so I can bring it down, and I know everybody likes to see what I'm talking about and follow along. Okay, get this a little bigger. So I have this for October 2nd, 2024 in Honolulu, Hawaii, where I am now. And then we have the vanishing pen. Okay. So yeah, so everybody, so you can see that the new moon here is at 10 degrees of Libra. So if you have anything, I would give you honestly a 10-degree orb. I'm going to be generous here, but if you have a 10 degrees on either side, right, of 10 degrees Libra, Aries, Capricorn, or Cancer, if you have any personal planets there or angles, or your sun and moon, you're definitely going to feel this eclipse like a lot more than other people. It's definitely representing a significant chapter in your personal life and your personal journey where you're going. Okay. And again, new moons are, a time to plant a seed, right? There is something that is going to kick off, I would say, over the next 6 months. And of course, that feeds into the longer storyline, the longer journey of your life, So for some of us, our relationships are going to change because the South Node is here. Okay. And so the South Node brings in karmic connections and karmic patterns of behavior. Okay. Stuff that we're used to doing in other lifetimes and in early childhood. Okay. So for a lot of people, this can be a good time to clean out, bad behaviors, bad ways of being in relationship that are linked to codependency and like over relying on the other person or over giving to the other person and overextending yourself. There's a lot of dynamics here where I think that relationships could be changing and people are like, I just had enough. I don't want to overextend myself anymore. I feel like I'm not being valued anymore. Or I just don't resonate with this, right? I just don't feel the same. And, this can also happen because Lilith is here in the mix too. Lilith is at 10 degrees conjunct this new moon. And I do want to touch on this because I went to the beach this morning and I was meditating over our current energy and what I wanted to say about this lunation for everyone, and what I was tapping and tuning into. And on the backdrop, it's very important that I was taking in that we have that Mars right here in Cancer. It's forming a square to this new moon. And that Mars in Cancer transit is very important because we're having it essentially until April 25th, right? 2025, right? So this is kind of on the backdrop. So let's go back to the Lilith situation, right? Well, what does Lilith represent? So a few things, but a major one is the dynamics of control and also feelings of shame and guilt deeply rooted within all of us, men and women, because of our decades and decades of growing up in patriarchal societies and the imbalance between the masculine and feminine. Okay. And I don't just mean masculine and feminine, like literal men and women. There is masculine and feminine energy in all of us. And I believe many of us have been conditioned and have ancestral trauma with feeling the imbalance within us, right? Some of us feel we're too feminine and we're too soft and we can't take enough initiative and we can't, put enough drive or self-protection into us. And then others of us feel like we're too masculine and we're not able to receive enough or we're not able to remain soft and open up, and you can you can tip the scales, right? You can go back and forth, and maybe sometimes you're too soft, maybe sometimes you're too hard, right? You're too masculine, you're too feminine, this and that, right? And it's about finding the balance within each of us, and also respectively knowing that everybody else in this planet has masculine, feminine energy, and everything in our planet alone is filled with masculine and feminine energy, you know. And I was just like observing that when I was on the beach this morning, and just like in awe of Mother Nature itself and how she is just so well balanced, and why we don't tap in and tune into that intelligence and that wisdom instead of, you know, we're just are trying to articulate it in our minds. We're over articulating in our minds and overcompensating for our choices and our directions and the way that we're relating to humans and jumping into relationships because of how we think, rather than listening to the body, right? Which is the natural wisdom, which is what Lilith represents. Lilith represents the natural wilds within our emotional bodies, right? And Lilith has been repressed for hundreds of thousands of years of people just allowing the natural rhythms and the natural cycles of their need for freedom and autonomy and sovereignty over their body, right? So we can see how, you know, over centuries, it's mostly been repressed in women, you know, us not even having bank accounts, right? Like 60 years ago, and us having reproductive issues, reproductive right issues, and so forth, right? And then the whole imbalance of like, well, the gender inequality, like you stay at home and you work, you'll work and I'll stay at home and this and that, or whatever, right? And, you know, caring for kids is a full-time job, right? It is a full-time job, but because there was no money involved, it's not respected, right? And we have linked power dynamics to resources that we see are powerful, but they're not. The real power is within, right? And what happens is with a Scorpio dynamic, which we'll get into, which is where Venus is right now. And Venus represents our values, by the way, and let's not forget it's the ruler of this eclipse. You know, what Scorpio does is it desires something that it looks powerful outside of itself. And so any planet in Scorpio, right? And it will do this in the way that that planet does it, okay? But Scorpio is like, that is powerful. I see that powerful. I want to merge with that. I want to go grab that, and I want to take it, and I want to embody it within myself. But once it does that, once it claims that power for within itself, then that thing, that situation, that person, that relationship, whatever that was acquired, goes through a death process, because it's kind of like almost like being eaten up by Scorpio, right? And then Scorpio realizes like the power was always within itself. What it saw as a reflection outside of itself was actually a reflection of what was within, but needed to be reclaimed, right? It sensed that the power was outside, but it learns that it's actually within itself. And that's why Scorpio is so good at regeneration, right? And going through a transmutation process, right? Having these death and rebirth experiences, because it constantly goes through these power dynamics until all desires are exhausted, right? And so that, I could go down a really long tangent on that one about desires being exhausted, because I think it has to do with the level of consciousness within a human being and how deep they can connect to their body and themselves. And once they realize that they are the ultimate resource and the ultimate power, then they stop giving their power away, right? We stop giving our power away to relationships that don't mean anything, to money, things, acquired things that don't mean anything anymore. You know, uh, job tiers, you know, like recognition in the workforce that just doesn't matter. It doesn't mean anything anymore. And people start to realize that everyone is equal and everyone's ordinary, and everyone's just on this learning journey of earth school, and everything just kind of flattens out, right? And then Scorpio learns like the true lesson of like the intimacy with life and self-empowerment, and learning to trust and learning to merge, you know, with itself and feeling whole within itself, right? So Lilith here on the South Node. So a lot of people will be feeling, and it might be hard for them to articulate what they're feeling because Mercury is here and it's getting eclipsed as well, and Mercury is only a degree off of this eclipse, and so it's in the dark. Okay, so our communication planet, like how we're trying to communicate, and also let's say, you know, it is with Juno here, which deals with partnerships as well. It might be hard for people to actually try to communicate what they're feeling because it's so deep right now. It's so deep within them, the pain, the hurt, the confusion, like it's in this deep well that they're like, I don't know actually how to communicate this, but I know that I just feel it because it's within my body, right? And that is Lilith here wanting to erupt. Okay, the Lilith within you, you know, the natural body wisdom, the need for freedom over your body, over your sexuality, over how you relate to things, over your freedom in general. You know, the Lilith story is she was born of the same soil of Adam, right? But she wanted to have her own sexual freedom with Adam too, and he wanted to control her. And then so she fled, right? She fled the Garden of Eden to go live on the outskirts and have all the children that she wanted with all these mythical creatures and so forth. And she was basically shunned for this, right? For embracing her natural feminine and saying, like, I have choice over my body. We are both equal. We were both born of the same soil, right? I'm out of here if you can't respect that. And that can be really hard for people to express around this time where this is showing up in your life because we've been conditioned for hundreds and hundreds of years, you know, to not speak up and to feel shame about certain things, right? And so there's this level of like guilt that can be an undertone, this level of shame and feeling basically inadequate to express how you're feeling, right? Or to take power and authority and control over your life. Okay. So if you're feeling that way and you can't put the words into it, right? It's like you don't necessarily have to have the words to express how you're feeling, right? It's really important under this eclipse that you're acknowledging those sensations within yourself. And then the words will come out later on, right? But that's why I said at the beginning of this video, like meditate and see what's coming up for you because you might not be able to fully express it. This is more of a body sensation, right? This is more of a body eclipse going on here. And I want to encourage people to understand another thing that I was looking at when I was sitting on the beach this morning was I was on the sand and there were all these little cute, tiny, like they're almost clear crabs in the sand. And, you know, Cancer is the archetype of the crab and Mars is a planet of initiation and of action. And it's honestly Mars, wherever Mars is transiting right now, this is where your life is changing, right? It's on the leading edge of a new direction. So when you look at transiting Mars in the chart and also look at your natal Mars, okay? Because wherever transiting Mars is going, it's helping you go in a new direction where that natal Mars in your chart also is trying to evolve your soul and grow into, okay? So it's like a little astrology tip right there. But, you know, this transiting Mars is in the Cancer house and it will dip into Leo as well, a little bit of Leo, right? But we're going to have this whole huge cycle of Mars and Cancer and Leo, which it's trying to create changes, okay? And as I was watching the crabs this morning on the beach, you know, I was watching them go into their little tunnel, grab a little bit of sand, throw it out of the tunnel with their cute little claws. I mean, it's just like totally amazing. And then they would sit there for a while. Like they were just chilling. They would sit there. They wouldn't go back in. They weren't busy. They were just slowly doing it. And then they'd pop back in to their little hole and I'd wait for it to come out. And then it'd come out. And I swear to God, it was staring at me. Like I was looking, it was like me and like these hundreds of crabs just like all staring at each other. But they move so slow and they move side to side, right? And they just do one little thing at a time. And then like the wave would come and it would like take some of the, you know, some of the crabs like little holes, like it would take the sand away or whatever, but then they'd come back out again. They'd be doing it again, right? So the reason why I'm saying this is because, you know, Mars is the ruler of the North Node, where we're going, like the direction we're trying to head in right now, right? It's the head of the dragon, it's that hunger, and the ruler of that North Node, right, is that Mars. And so it's very likely that many people you like because there's also a difficulty to express how your body is feeling and reacting under this eclipse energy, because you can feel it, right? You can feel like, you know, something is going to emerge, and also like, what the hell do I need to release? Like, what is it that's really, I'm tripping myself up and getting in my way? You can feel it in this energy. And that Mars in Cancer is also about slowly moving, right? It's not a driven hardcore like Mars in Aries is just like, I'm gonna go, I don't even know what direction I'm going in. I just like 0 to 100 in 2 seconds, right? That's not Mars in Cancer. Mars in Cancer is going with the flow, right? It's going with the ocean. It lives on the shoreline. It's slowly making a little bit of digs, but when it does dig up some of that sand, and when it does move some of that earth, right? It moves a ton. It makes a big shift. It makes a big, impact. Just like when a wave comes in, completely it completely takes away all of the footprints in the sand, right? You like walk along the sand and then you leave your footprints there, and the shoreline comes in and it completely takes away all of the imprints that were left in the sand. Okay. This is what I really think is going to happen under the next 6 months for a lot of people, is that you'll make some steps, and then you'll sit there for a while, you'll look at your steps in the sand, and then you'll take a little bit of action, and it will, it's gonna cause like you're gonna need a few attempts to do this, is what I'm saying, right? Because Mars is gonna go back and forth, side to side. It's gonna make small movements, and those movements are critical steps, and they are big movements towards your developing cycle of life and where you're going. But it might not look as fast as you want it to, right? And you might have to redo a couple of things, especially when Mars goes retrograde. But having the knowledge that this might be some of the case, it's just a slow process of evolving. It's a slow evolution. Okay. And on the other side here is this Mars, which is the ruler of the North Node, and also this ruler of the South Node, Venus. These are in a trine to each other, and they're also talking to Saturn, which is retrograde right now in Pisces. So Venus in Scorpio, which is, confronting things and learning about the trusting ourself, right? What our needs are, learning real deep intimacy with the self, and what how you're going to show up in your relationships to anything in life, right? Is going under transmutation process. This eclipse is going to ignite the way that you feel about relationships and money and resources and things that you have of value in your life. This eclipse is going to spark a release to something, and it can be quite painful, honestly, because essentially you're removing things that and this is Saturn's work here. You're removing things that once held structure and that were once a stable boundary for you for a long time, and they had their place. But Saturn's not going to win anymore. Okay. And the reason why I'm saying Saturn's not going to win is because all of the outer planets, Pluto at 29 degrees of Capricorn, Neptune at 28 degrees of Pisces, and Uranus at 26 degrees of Taurus, right? These are all retrograde, and they're all finishing up their massive cycles in the outer planets, right? And Howard Support just calls these the gods of change. When these all switch signs, guys, which they are within the next year, right? When these all switch signs, there is a massive shift in our life happening. Massive. And this is the work up to it. This is the energy, the work up to it. And that's just really important that people are tapped in and tuned into the astrology, to the human design, to tarot, like whatever you're using right now. You're having these conversations, just know that it's not going to be super quick energy, but we've got this grand trine here in this water, in the water element, which has to do with our memory, with our emotional imprinting, with our emotions, with our feeling, with our connectivity, right? It's a very important element. It's going under a purification in this grand trine and the backdrop, and the rulers of the nodes, right, are in communication with each other, and they're saying, hey, the trine here, it's gonna stretch you. It's gonna feel like you're gonna be a little bit into foreign territory, but I'm here to support you. You know, I'm here to support you in the direction that you're going in. This really softens up a lot of the stuff. It's going to trigger emotional, you know, wavelengths within humans. And again, it's that well. I don't think a lot of people are going to actually be able to communicate it. So they might say, you know, I'm not feeling the emotions, right? But it's because they don't know how to communicate it, right? Because it's so deep. It's so deep within them that, and it erupts, it comes up, that it's so hard to work through. It's so hard to express and it's so hard to understand, right? And so that's why I like take some space, like with this new moon, seriously, and let yourself have that eruption of that. Let that wave come through. Like what let that wave move through you. Okay, because this trine on the backdrop is super, super supportive for the growth and the transmutation of all of this energy. And also, you know, it's going to gift you so many new possibilities and so many promises to go in a new direction, because you know the charts here, they do promise new beautiful things to be grown. You know, this is a very beautiful like chart of just like Venus and Mars like collaborating together to establish the structure. You know, we always give Saturn a bad rep and we always give Saturn a bad name, but when he goes into Aries, you know, next year, we're getting a new foundation happening, and we're going to have it with Neptune. So your higher ideals, your higher vision, like the things that you dream of, they're possible. They're waiting for you. They're right on your doorstep, right? They're waiting for you to grab them. But there's also an element here that, especially under this eclipse, it's like there are some bad patterns. They once were okay and they were once good, but they are now shifting, and they're preventing humans from going forward. Okay. And it's really coming up in that deep, deep well. Okay. All of this is going on in the 48th gate in the human design chart, right? So that's the gate of inadequacy. And, you know, that's a game that a lot of gates where we store, you know, our shame and our guilt and so forth on a very deep, deep, deep level within our emotional realms, right? So this is going to come up and this is going to purge for a lot of people. Okay. So, you know, overall, it's not, it's a beautiful eclipse, you know, and I do want to say too that Juno is here. Look, Juno is talking to Jupiter. You know, Jupiter's kind of like in the backdrop a little bit. We're not doing too much with Jupiter. Essentially, you know, Jupiter is having a nice sextile to Chiron here. So there's that beautiful opportunity for that expansion. If you take a leap of faith on yourself, wherever Jupiter is transiting, you know, understand two things. I do have a video about Jupiter that you should check out on my YouTube channel, because it talks about Jupiter transits in a way that I don't think a lot of astrologers touch on, because Jupiter does signify loss as well. Because in order for us to take a leap of faith and to expand an area of life, right, that does also mean leaving something behind, right? Starting something new, traveling, if you will, in a intellectual way, because it's in Gemini, being curious to your possibilities, asking the questions of the universe, like, where could I go next? What options are available to me? You know, what kind of connections are available to me right now? And it's in that beautiful sextile to Chiron at 21 degrees, where there's a healer archetype, and all of us have this healing gift. We all have like some special knowledge because of what our life experience is, to offer wisdom to other people, right? And to also essentially take that wisdom and apply it to ourselves. So we don't play the victim role in our life anymore. We take ownership over the wounds and the pains, and we turn it into something that's beautiful. You know, we turn it into the sparkling wisdom, if you will. And so there's this beautiful energy on the backdrop where, you know, this is capable for us. This is possible for us. You know what I mean? And then we have this what's called an ear in the sky with Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto on the backdrop. So you want to be paying attention with Neptune in the middle here of that ear. You want to be paying attention when you meditate, because you're going to really tap into those Pisces Neptune gifts, that higher level of consciousness that is outside the bounds of our physical reality, right? Neptune's outside of Saturn. There are extreme gifts of wisdom right now if you're listening. If you're listening. So that's why I'm encouraging people to take time alone, to take time in nature and solitude, like go meditate, right? Pay attention to your dreams, you know, clean up your energy a bit, you know, because it's going to be easier to access what's available to you under this eclipse portal if you do. Okay. So that's it, everybody. I hope that this video helped. Please feel free to give me a comment down below. I always am looking forward to hearing about your comments. Please don't forget to give me a like and subscribe. This helps my channel. And, you know, if you feel like it's fitting to share with other people, to spread the message. And again, I'm available for astrology readings as well. So if you do need help navigating this for your own chart and you want to work with me, you can go to my website, scenicrouteastrology.com. You can schedule a 15-minute call with me if you'd like to see what kind of reading you think would best suit you, whether it's human design, whether it's astrology, maybe it's a combination of both. You know, maybe you need predictive work, you know, maybe you just need evolutionary work. I mean, we can just find out how I can best help you if you feel called for that. And if you also want to learn more about the moon, don't forget I have that new course that launched, Becoming Lunatics, and it's available self-study. The full course launches on October 17th, and we will start our monthly meetings in November, but I'm running an eclipse sale right now. So it's $85 for the course, and you get lifetime access and 6 months of monthly meetings with me, where you can show up and ask me any questions about your chart, whether that's related to the moon course or not. I always will tie it in, and that will be available to you. So thank you everybody for being here. I hope that you navigate the eclipse season easy and stress-free, and don't forget to meditate and tap into what the energy has for you. All right, I'll be back soon.